Somebody asking about the Max comics that came out in the 90s. And in 1995, I believe it was adopted as a short on the MTV show Liquid Television. In one of those episodes of the Max, there is a character named Julie Winters who was essayed. And she has this quote that goes something like this: "We live in a world where no means yes, and sometimes it does. But I don't believe that any man who's ever pulled himself off a crying woman was ever confused for a second about what she wanted." I saw that episode once almost 30 years ago, and I still remember that quote to this day.
Really brought to mind a conversation that I had this week on a live. One of the women on it, Many Crimes, one of my mutuals, she did an amazing cross-examination with this young man who was not opposed to the idea of believe all victims, but who struggled with it. He's like, well, what about false allegations? And, the question was asked, well, how many do you think are false? And the number we came up with, the two of them came up with, was 5%. Have you had people come to you and talk to you about their assaults? And he's like, how many people have come to you? Has anyone ever come to you to tell you that they've been assaulted? Yes. How many? I don't know. More than 5? Yes. More than 10? Yes. More than 20? No. So what percentage of what is the number? What percentage of a person is 5% of 20? And it really brought home that most of us will never meet a person who is making a false allegation. Just the odds are against it. And he got that, but he was still struggling with it. And I could feel what he was struggling with. And so I asked him, have any of your male friends ever lied in order to have sex with a woman? Have they ever lied, exaggerated, or bent the truth? And he said, yes. I said, the problem is that you don't want to think of your friends as bad guys. This is what you're struggling with. Because part of your social structure as a man in your friend group is that it is okay to trick people into having sex. So what that means is that the concept of her pleasure does not figure into that equation. When, really an intimate act like that should be engaged upon when both of you want each other so badly you can hardly breathe. Not a lie told that if she knew the truth of it, she would say no. So what are men really worried about when they do stuff like this? The truth is, they're worried about wasting an erection. I mean, let's be real. When they talk about it, they're like, it is about wasting this thing. What if she would have said yes? If she's not giving you indications, she's not saying yes, if she's not showing you yes, she's not trying to rip your clothes off, then maybe you should give it a pass and wait until the next time. But no, the idea of going home with that thing still in your pocket, it's not to be borne. So let me tell a lie. Let me keep asking until she says yes. Let me extend the length of our interactions in hopes that she'll just say yes in order to get rid of me. And the problem with that kind of behavior, with that kind of mindset, is that it shows how much men hold themselves cheaply, how much they don't believe in their own value, that she would want him, that any woman would want them. So of course they have to lie. Of course they have to coerce. Of course they have to essay. Because no woman would want them. And of course, SA is about power. And for some reason, I kind of think that in too many men's minds, there's a correlation between sex and dominance that makes almost every act about power. That can, for individual men, make every act about power. But this is why I believe all victims. And when I say I believe all victims, I mean that I believe that they are more likely to be telling the truth than not. They're more likely to be telling the truth than the man in the situation. Because the floor, the foundation of men's, as I told him, your social structure with you and your friends, telling lies to get smacks is perfectly acceptable. Tricking women into doing it with you is perfectly acceptable. So you've already proven yourselves untrustworthy. The 95% of people who make accusations or allegations are often proven to be trustworthy. Might not be able to get a conviction, but that don't mean that they weren't assaulted. So for me, believing all victims is about the fact that men have, the average American guy has no concept of what consent actually looks like when it is standing in front of them, what it actually means, what enthusiasm and appreciation and desire and erotic charge, what that actually, too many men have not experienced that, especially when they're young. And so they are, pushing, asking over and over, pushing, extending interactions, hoping that the person will give it up just to get rid of them, lying, coercing. It's just not good. So what that quote said, that no man is ever, go back. I don't believe that these dudes are generally confused, but I also believe that there's a huge number of American men in particular. I don't know how this works around the world. There's a huge number of American men who don't anticipate that a woman will really experience pleasure. And so they don't look for it. Now, if she's crying when it's over, he might catch a clue. He'll catch a clue. He'll know. But because it's not about her pleasure really at all, but about his. I'm talking about the dudes who lie, which is a lot of y'all. Don't get ridiculous with me. They know she's not happy. They know she didn't really have that great of a time. They know that she's probably lying to spare their ego or not to extend the interaction any longer. When they ask, hey, did you finish? And she says yes. They know all of these things. And they walk out of the door thinking that they had valid consent. And to me, that is incredibly invalid consent. So yes, the example that my mutual gave is the reason why I believe all victims.